He used to drink quite a bit. And he was in the bar, and the bartender down there said, "Shorty, I've got to get you out of here. I'm going to take you out to the golf course and teach you how to play golf." Shorty said, "Oh, for crying out loud." He hit that thing and he spent the rest of the day looking for it. But he came home after he went on his first golf. He said, "I'm hooked." He said, "The first time I hit that ball, I was hooked." Shorty didn't go to high school. He says, "I already know all this stuff." And he joined the Navy. Oh, we just met kind of on a blind date. Shorty had a car. Back then when we met, a lot of them didn't have cars, and it was hot. We were up at one of our friend's house, and she said, "You two ought to get married. You're together all the time." And so we looked at each other. Okay.
He and Charlotte started on this property in 1964. So he was the original caretaker of the Fahey Ranch in 1964 onward. He was the first to show Mr. Kaiser the property. What is now the 14th tee of Bandon Trails. There's an area there where the bench is and a monument in honor of Shorty and Charlotte Dow. And that's where Shorty took Mike Kaiser to show him the overall property of Bandon Dunes. He was looking at it for about 3 or 4 minutes, and Shorty jumped in and said, "Well, are you gonna buy it?"
When he said he was a sheriff and the mayor of Bandon Dunes, that was self-appointed, you know. He had been there for 2 previous owners. If you were a guy with an ATV who went up there and started tearing up the hills, he'd get out there and he'd chase you off.
My 1240, that's the Mackinac City. Good morning. My name's Shu. How can I help you? The property meant the world to him before the golf course came. The addition of the golf course just made Shorty love this place even more. He figured that he came along with the property, along with Charlotte, and he was part of this. And he enjoyed that. I asked him how I'd go about getting a job here. And he said, "Well, you're going to have to go down to the office and talk to them down there." And they weren't hiring. But Shorty said, "Don't give up, just keep going. Eventually they're going to need more than one person here." And along that time, Shorty was playing a big role in this because he was also still giving his tours before we opened the golf course. Shorty was very instrumental, and Charlotte, when Mr. Kaiser first showed up in basically just opening up his house.
Shorty couldn't believe they're going to build a golf course almost in my backyard, because he loved golf. He always loved a challenge, and golf was one of them. Any place we go, like we used to go out to Eastern Oregon to the musical stuff, and he'd play golf out there. He played the guitar from the time he was a little guy, like Ragtime Annie. Yeah, he played all kinds of stuff.
Shorty was very much a part of the scene. Bandon Dunes was still much smaller than it is now. There was the lodge, and there was the little village there with McKee's Pub and a couple of other buildings. You know, and that was really it. People like Shorty would just be around, and sometimes Shorty would come and play his music in the lodge. When you met Shorty, sort of went the same way. He always had his hat on, it was always a little cockeyed. He'd hand you that card. It always got a laugh. It says, "Guitars, fiddles, toe tapping. Bullshit, master of ceremonies, I don't get it joke. Shorty Dow, retired." If bullshit was music, Shorty would have been a brass band. I always thought he was pretty astute about people, too. For instance, there's an account of David Kidd and his father. He said they were just like a pair of kids out there. And Shorty remembered them running over to the edge of a dune and then just jumping off, going down in the sand. And he had stories like this about a lot of people. It sort of got to the kernel of who they were, and that exhilaration that David was feeling was a key thing in what was happening in his work out there, that he was really excited and fired up and thrilled by his opportunity. So Shorty noticed those things and he was able to pick out kind of an anecdote that would capture people. It played a role in keeping that place as pristine and as authentic as it is still. But how do you do it? There wasn't any formula for it. One of the ways that they did it was by listening to people like Shorty and other people who were there. They knew they wanted it to reflect the place, and who was going to give you more of a clue to what that was than Shorty. Shorty was very tickled about the way things were going. He really was pulling for the success of the place. And he was certainly interested in this exposure that he was having to people from another world. I remember he was telling me that Mike was a really good guy and easy to get along with. He said, I'd go back to the trailer and Mike and a whole bunch of millionaires would just be sitting there on the steps. It pleased him that suddenly his life was a new thing as a result of Bandon Dunes.
He went out like the man he was, went out like a character, all the way. Unfortunately, cancer kind of wastes people away. He got more and more frail, but it seemed like as he got more frail and Charlotte got stronger, it was sad to see it, but he took it really well. I talked to him before he passed away, and to have a golf course named after him, to leave that as a legacy, which will be here for a long time, he was thrilled to death. And when I told Charlotte that they were naming the original Shorties would be Charlotte's, likewise.
That's why he's honored. It's why the monument up at 14 at Bandon Trails is there. It's also why we've named our 19-hole par 3 course Shorties in honor of him. He made that big of an impact on all of us, and very thankful that we were getting to honor him with this project. It's a special place, and I think Shorty would be thrilled to see it. The topography of this site is just highly dramatic, with all the rumples, big dunes and pockets. It's a big natural dunescape with a lot of golf holes interwoven into the character of the land.
It's going to fit in really nice with our existing golf courses. I think people are going to love it. It's amazing. They were just totally thrilled that when they leave this earth, there'll be something here for a long time. And Shorty will live on. He just will.
And I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts, a sense sublime of something far more deeply interfused, whose dwelling is the light of setting suns, and the round ocean, and the living air, and the blue sky, and in the mind of man, a motion and a spirit that impels all thinking things, all object of all thought, and rolls through all things. Therefore am I still a lover of the meadows and the woods and the mountains, and of all that we behold from this green earth, of all the mighty world of eye and ear, both what they half create and what perceive, well pleased to recognize in nature and the language of the sense, the anchor of my purest thoughts, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my soul, and soul of all my moral being. We will miss you, Shorty.